Hey guys, and welcome to the new episode of Automated Seller Podcast. Today I have a special guest, Nachman Lieser, a founder of ConnectBooks. Hey Nachman, how are you?
Good. How are you doing? So great to be here.
Oh, doing good, thanks. We've met at Prosper Show. I actually checked your booth there. It was amazing. I also met some of your teammates, and you're doing a really great job. I'm in a space for some time right now, and I know that the bookkeeping is a huge pain in the ass. And I would love actually to hear more about Connect Books. Could you actually introduce Connect Books to the audience? What you are doing, how you are helping sellers?
Yeah, sure. I'd love to give an introduction. Before I jump into what ConnectBooks is, I'd like to give a little background about myself because ConnectBooks is an accounting platform, and accounting is very different than most other software. So I'll just give a little background by myself, explaining how I got into this and where I come from, and that will explain more why I started ConnectBooks. So I
Totally.
used to work as a CFO in a large wholesale business. We had a warehouse of 200,000 square feet. We had around 25,000 different SKUs. And my job was to take care of the finances. I was on top of the finance department. And the hardest part in the job was to have proper balance sheet. Now, why is a balance sheet so hard? Because in the balance sheet, you have a lot of different stuff you're looking at. You have, let's say, your sales. I'm sorry, not your sales. You have your bank accounts, you have your receivables. The hardest thing is the inventory, right? So let's think for a second on a bookkeeping perspective. And I would say this is the biggest challenge most, not just Amazon, any inventory business faces. Because the hardest thing in a business is when I give you a P&L, I give you a profit and loss. I tell you this month you made $20,000. How do we know that this P&L is accurate? Maybe the P&L is not accurate. Maybe the P&L is not correct. So one of the things we do in bookkeeping is we reconcile the bank account, meaning we make sure that every single dollar that came into the bank, every single dollar that went out is actually recorded in the bank, and that actually will show up on the financial statements. So the question is, in terms of the P&L, so I know that, let's say $100,000 came in because that's what I see in the bank account. Now, the real question is, how much is my inventory value and how much is cost of goods sold? So there's two ways how to do bookkeeping. There's one way to do bookkeeping, which is called cash basis, which very small sellers do sometimes, which means that every time I buy something, we expense it. And then there's other ways doing accrual based. Accrual based means say that when we buy something, we don't expense it, we put it into an account called inventory asset, and we take it out of inventory and put it in as expense when the product sells. So what's the differences between these two bookkeeping platforms, or what's meaning the two bookkeeping ideas is, let's say right before the season. You're this month, November, you only sold $200,000 worth of merchandise, not your sales, meaning the cost of the products you sold was $200,000. However, you purchased in this month alone $500,000 worth of merchandise because you're going to sell in December a lot of inventory. So if you do cash basis bookkeeping on November, you'll be showing a loss. You'll be showing that you lost 300,000. What you want to do is you don't want to show that you lost. What you want to do is you want to show that you want to show that your cost was $200,000 because that's the amount of products you sold. And, that's how you have a proper P&L. So my point I'm trying to bring out is that when you do financials, we don't do it based on the bank account. We do it based on what's happening in the business. And that's where accrual-based accounting comes into play. So as working for a CFO for 4 years, this was my primary challenge, having proper inventory value, understanding it. And when you're running with 25,000 different SKUs, it's a nightmare and a challenge. And it was very hard. And that's where I gained a lot of experience. At the same time, I also went to school, and I have a master's degree in accounting. So when I finished my school, I decided it was time to leave my job, and I opened up a bookkeeping company. So for the last 4 years, I've been doing bookkeeping, and more like I was the CFO. So I opened up a bookkeeping / like CFO services for small to medium sized businesses. And then I started to work with Amazon sellers. So I spent probably like a half a year just pulling all different reports from Amazon to put together proper books. And it was very complicated. And the first customer I dealt with was actually this one partner wanted to buy out the second partner. So partner A was going to buy out partner B. But the problem with partner B was he wasn't a 50-50 partner. He was only a partner. And let's say they were private label. They were selling like 10 different products. Only a partner in like 3 out of the 10 products. So what happened was we're gonna buy out partner B. So we need to have the proper financial, how much money the business made, but plus also how much money each product made. We need to know how much money each product made because the buy was only based on 3 items, not based on 10 items. So I spent 5 to 6 months pulling this all together for them. And then I was thinking to myself, this could be a very good idea for my bookkeeping company. If I can take
Oh yeah.
all this Excel sheets that I just built and put it into some sort of software originally when I was thinking about it, just thinking about my bookkeeping company, because I was looking to grow my bookkeeping business. I was like, if I can maybe specialize in the e-commerce space, I can build something where I can do my bookkeeping work in 1 month instead of 6 months and offer better prices and services. I can really grow fast. So that's when came in this idea to build it out. I originally started building it for myself. And then I started talking to Amazon sellers about this idea that I have. And they're like, wow, it's such a wonderful product. But like, look, we have an in-house bookkeeper. So we don't want to use your bookkeeping service. So the other guy said, look, I have my bookkeeper for the last 10 years. I'm not really interested in switching, but we would love to use this product. So we ended up switching into two separate companies. We built out the software, which automates the accounting part from Amazon to QuickBooks and helps you gain clarity and profitability and all that. And then at the same time, we still run our bookkeeping company, which we do bookkeeping for small to medium sized businesses. It was actually interesting because as we started launching the platform, it started picking up, and the platform we market very heavy because we can take on bigger growth there. Versus the bookkeeping company, it's a little hard to all of a
Oh, yeah.
sudden
It's
take
like
on.
service company basically. It's
Yeah,
hard
you
to
can't
scale
take
it.
on 10 accounts in 1 month. I take on maybe 2 or 3 a month. So what happened was, but a lot of people who were using the software knew that we did bookkeeping, like, hey, we want you to do our bookkeeping. So our bookkeeping company actually just changed, not just, it was 2 years ago that we changed it, as that we only do bookkeeping for Amazon businesses. And you have to be a ConnectBooks customer. So it helped us a lot in that way. And then, on the software side, it's, where we service today over 1,000 customers. We service, I'd say, quite a lot of the top 100 Amazon sellers we have, and we're continuing to grow and we're continuing to help people. So it's a little bit interesting how I got into the product. But what I also want to point out a lot about the product is that my background is not development, my background is not Amazon, my background is accounting. And why that's important is that a lot of apps there, like let's say somebody's an Amazon seller, so they know how to manage a warehouse very well, they know how to ship orders well. So they build something that works for them, which is very good. But most people who know how to manage an Amazon business are usually not accountants. And the people who know how to write software are usually also not accountants. So when it comes to the accounting side, it gets very difficult to have the proper balance and have the proper numbers. And I kind of have this very unique niche where we come into the accounting space and we actually do everything right and we do it the proper way.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I really love your story, actually, how smooth you went from running this overall accounting services to actually getting to the niche, because this is something similar that works for us. I mean, we've started as a general software agency doing projects for everyone, and then we just figure out, hey, we need the niche, we need to jump somewhere, focus on something. Now we are here also in the Amazon space, I would say also other marketplaces space, just focusing on building solutions for sellers and businesses around that. So I really like it. Also, I
Yeah,
mean, it's similar like you. We didn't have any experience in Amazon itself. It just came from all of the projects that we've been building for those sellers. So I really like it. And the warehouse that, I mean, when you were working as a CFO before, what kind of company was it? Like that was a manufacturing company,
it
logistics,
was a
or
wholesaler. It was a kitchen business that was a wholesaler. So we were importing from China kitchen cabinets and selling it to wholesale stores. So
got it?
we
But it
bring
had
in,
nothing to do with Amazon, right? Like
no,
they didn't have the branch on.
and I don't think people are selling cabinets soon on Amazon. I mean, Home Depot tried selling their cabinets online, but that's like stock. Like, if you want to order a kitchen, you need a layout, you need a design. I don't know. You never know. Maybe somebody will soon come up with it. Maybe you'll build a program to sell kitchens on Amazon.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean, we see some trends here also coming from other marketplaces in Europe, and some products that people would say that they never will be sold on Amazon, and bam, next day actually people start selling some stuff on Amazon. So
I
it's
mean, I would love to order a new car on Amazon. Like, imagine you can just go on your phone, like buy something, and the next day, boom, the car is here.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
Maybe they will
But
come.
I really like also the story of the product, and obviously I can imagine it wasn't that easy as it sounds when you said about this. And I would love to hear a little bit more about the basically your services that are coming with the software. So If you could tell a little bit more about the software side on the ConnectBooks, like what kind of features are there that the Amazon sellers could use on daily basis?
Yeah. So sure. So as I explained in the beginning, my background is having proper financials, and that's a difficult thing to do. Even a lot of accountants who are not well versed in e-commerce have a very hard time with this. So when I talked to an Amazon seller, like I remember once I asked a guy like, "Are your books up to date?" He's like, "Yeah, I think so." I said, "So what's your inventory value?" He's like, "Oh, I don't know." I said, "Then you don't have your books are not up to date." I'll give you like a different example, like a story I had with a recent client. Their inventory value was, we actually also did the bookkeeping for them, so I was hands-on involved. Their inventory value was $6.5 million. And the question is, are we carrying too much inventory? Because you don't want to carry too much inventory. Reason is, there's that fast a product will sell. Like if you know a product sells 10 pieces a month, maybe you could get it to 12, maybe you can even get it to 20, but you're not getting it so fast to 100 unless you're doing some drastic changes. So why would you buy 100 of one product? You would buy enough for 2 or 3 months. So you don't want to overstock. And also, I mean, if you buy 100 units when you're only selling 10, what's happening is you have a lot of money that's being buried in your inventory. And this money could be used for other products. This money could be used maybe to buy some other investments where you'll get even an 8% return. If it's sitting in your inventory, you're getting no return on your investment. So this customer had an inventory of $6.5 million. Now, the question is, how much do they really need? So what we did is we said, let's take a look at how much was your cost of goods sold for the last 12 months. So in the last 12 months, their cost of goods sold was $12 million. So me say on average, they sell around $1 million a month. So then I asked the customer, tell me, how long does it take for you to replenish your inventory? So he told me it's like around 3 months. So I said, then you should not be carrying more than $3 to $3.5 million more of inventory. I know people might be scared because of COVID, everything took forever, and whoever didn't have inventory in COVID, everything went whacked, but we're getting back to normal at this point. I mean, container pricing is down to $2,000. It's cheaper than it was even before COVID. And you do want to carry some stock, and you do want to be optimized that if you do see, you want to be well advanced enough that if you see after a month you're running really low, that you're going to be running low in 2.5 months, you order much faster. So you could play around, but I told them that there's no point of carrying $6.5 million worth of inventory. You could make the same amount of money you're making now with $3.5 million than $6 million. So this extra $3 million could be put into some, fund or some real estate where you can make even 10% of your money. Now you're making nothing in it. So it's having the clear picture of your proper financials, meaning have a proper balance sheet. It gives you your proper inventory, understanding how much loans you have outstanding, having a proper P&L, understanding, how much money you made in the last year, how much money did you make every month. This is key, not just for an Amazon business. This is any business needs to know this. In the Amazon side, it's just harder to do because like a regular brick and mortar store usually has like a POS system. Like if you walk into Walmart and you buy something, there's a cashier, they scan the items, it goes into the POS, and the data gets sent afterwards to the main central hub, and they go through it. Versus in Amazon, you have people like they're just sitting in their office and they're shipping and shipments. They're not involved with the checkout. They have no clue what's happening. All they know is they check on their phone. Oh wow, today Amazon shipped us 500 orders. Like, okay, now how do I get all that data? That's where these stuff get complicated. And that's where we come into play. And then there's also another big feature which we recently just rolled out is we do a lot of reporting. So besides that, we discuss more like numbers at a whole, like what should your average, like how much could your inventory value be? What is your average cost of goods sold a month and stuff like that. Then we also have reporting on our website. So on our website, we will do reports which will show you every single product, how much money you're making, and we get every single fee in there. The way we do it is, and this is where we differ from most other reporting softwares, is we're a bookkeeping company. As bookkeeping, one of the things we need to do is when we want to send data to QuickBooks, we need to know how much money came into the bank, right? Because in QuickBooks, one of the things you can do is you want to reconcile, meaning you want to you have a bank reconciliation. You say, let's say you do $100,000 in sales, Amazon takes with 50,000 fees, and 50,000 comes into the bank. So in QuickBooks, what we'll do is we'll do 100,000 sales minus 50,000 fees, and we'll record a deposit of $50,000, which will match the amount that got deposited in your bank account. Otherwise, your books won't match. So with ConnectBooks, what we do is when we pull orders and we pull fees from Amazon, we have to tie everything into the amount that got deposited in your bank account, to the net amount. So we will pick up every single fee, we will pick up every single detail, and we break down every single fee to an item. And we will give you the exact profitability. So one of the things is we will show you how much money you make on a product level, but it's also very important. What we recently rolled out is like a comparison report. So the comparison report, the reason why, and it's like barely gone live and people are going crazy over it. The reason why it's so important is it will show you each product you can compare time frame. So for example, let's say you want to see a product for the last 5 months, how it did. You would have by month, you choose how you want to break it down. So you choose, let's say, January through May, and you break it down by month, and each column will be a different month. And we'll lay across all the different options. Like you'll have sales, you'll see straight across the month how the sales are doing. You'd have all the fees. Now, where does it come into play? There is that sweet spot where you want to price your product as. So what I have seen, this is not something I'm making up. I see this. So if you price a product, let's say at $25, and then you move it up to $25.50, you might make more money. But at some point, let's say you hit 27, ooh, Amazon says you're too expensive. We're going to bury you now. So you want to make sure that you're not pricing too high, you're not pricing too low. And to get that sweet spot, you want to see, if you're selling a lot of volume, moving up the price for the dollar and could have a huge impact. If you're selling 20,000 units a month, it's another $20,000. So you want to make sure that you're not going too high where you lose out money, and you want to make sure you're going too low. And vice versa. I had a customer who was selling a product at $35. He moved it down to $30, and he actually making more money. Now, we knew right away, if you move down the price, you will do more sales, right? This is supply and demand. So you want to make sure that you're pricing correctly, and we're able to show you that you can see with a click of a button, you see right away how well it's performing. And you can do the report by day, month, year, whatever you want.
But do you actually show it in a software itself? Like what would happen if you change the price, or how is
No,
this?
we don't show what would happen if we change the price.
Mm-hmm.
It's at the moment it's more after the fact. But what's key is that, I see clearly, like we also now, another thing we start doing is we also pull ad sales versus organic sales, and we give you also the ads. Now you get the full picture. You see, okay, when I moved up the price, this is how much I spent on ads, this is how much organic sales ads, this is how much sales I had from ad spend, and you could see how well the campaigns are doing. I just literally had a customer who signed up, and I showed him, by the way, you see this product, when you actually moved up the ad spend over the last, few days, but you're actually getting less ad sales. Like, something is messed up on this product. And it's like one of the best selling products. And it's like a way you could kind of monitor and easily see exactly what's going on. It's
Mm-hmm.
something that we just rolled out. No other platform has anything like this. Some
That's
platforms have comparison reports, but not with the amount of clarity that we're giving.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. We've built many different reporting solutions. We even built like a whole system for, I think it's more for arbitrage sellers, where basically we also tell the sellers like, hey, you shouldn't order that much of the stock in the current month because you'll be overstocked. You should change your price and so on. But we never really connected with the actual financing system as you did with the ConnectBooks, with the whole balance and so on. So that's like even another level. And I really like it. Now you actually give me idea to go to our client and discuss maybe some integration, if it's possible with you. I'm not sure if you actually have the API. That was also one of the questions. Is it actually possible to other third-party companies to integrate with your system at the moment?
So we integrate with other systems. We don't have yet an open API. It's another whole job. We didn't even look into it. It's on our roadmap, but not sure how fast I'm going to do it. It's you have to make sure that we don't have anybody coming in and doing the wrong stuff. It's not just opening up the endpoints. It's putting in the proper limitations so they don't bring down our system. But we integrate out with other parties. We integrate with Seller Cloud. We integrate with GoFlow. We integrate with ShipStation. Like, for example, part of the reporting that we do is, let's say you do a lot of FBM, what is one, how much money you're making on a product. Now you have to also have the shipping cost for the outbound shipment when you're shipping with UPS. So we integrate with ShipStation, and we get that information from there.
Hmm. So who would be like your ideal customers, basically, like your ideal customer, like a seller on Amazon, or do you also work with other marketplaces?
So we integrate with Amazon, all marketplaces, and we also do Walmart, we do eBay, and we do Shopify. And then
Hmm.
we have now these inventory integrations that we're working with, because in order to send data to QuickBooks, one of the big things, as we were discussing earlier, you want to have the cost of goods sold. You want to track inventory. You don't want to do based on what comes into the bank and goes out of the bank. You want to do your finances based on actually what sells. So one of the things we do is we integrate with inventory solutions. So from there, we're able to get the proper cost and all that information from there. And then as we go, we're adding on more and more integrations, and we're adding on more stuff.
Hmm. Awesome. Now, I want actually to ask you the question that I'm always like curious, because I mean you've built this awesome system, and QuickBooks is one of the most popular accounting software solutions in states. Do you actually have some idea of numbers? How many percentage of, like, let's say, just let's focus on Amazon sellers. Like, how many of Amazon sellers actually are using um, QuickBooks as their accounting system?
So I would say QuickBooks is being used by a lot of sellers. Now, the difference is it depends on the type of business. Like, let's say you're a manufacturing business. You're manufacturing, I don't know, some sort of product. Now, let's say you've been in business already for 25 years and you have this manufacturing system that you're using. At this point, you're, let's say, opening up a new section, which is an online business, which you're starting out to sell on Amazon. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to start using QuickBooks. Sometimes, they want to still use their existing ERP. Now, we do have custom integrations, like we have built for a customer on the onto account rate. We have made an export to, and we have other customers working with NetSuite that we have custom exports that we can send over the data. It's a little more complicated, but I would say that on a whole, most customers use QuickBooks. It's either you're like really, really big, like big, I mean to say, I mean, I even know I spoke to one of the like top 50 Amazon sellers I spoke to this week. He's also using QuickBooks.
Hmm.
Um, a lot of the problem also with most ERPs, like even NetSuite was not built for Amazon. NetSuite is built for a traditional, large corporation. The problem is that when it comes to like inventory and manufacturing, they don't have that much functionality as the other softwares out here. Like, let's say a program like Seller Cloud. Seller Cloud was built for e-commerce. So in
Yeah.
terms of e-commerce functionality, it has everything. It connects with over 100 marketplaces. But NetSuite won't have all that functionality that Seller Cloud has. Now, Seller Cloud doesn't have the functionality like an ERP. It's more of an inventory management system. It's not really an ERP on that side. So what I would say is, like, the bigger companies that like are in business for 25 years and they're like starting now to just sell on Amazon. So it's like just like another, it's like another part of the business. It's not like the whole business, like maybe 5% of the business. They look into do these custom platforms. Some aggregators, I mean, I deal with some aggregators who still use QuickBooks. I think some of them probably also switch over to NetSuite. But I would say this, I would not recommend NetSuite unless you have like a CFO on hand, because it's so complicated, these big platforms, and it's so easy to mess up the books. I mean, I'm working now with a customer who is using NetSuite, and for odd reason, he want to go away from QuickBooks. I think implementation alone, it ended up being like around $150,000, and it was more because he went through like three different bookkeepers, and everybody said they know what they're doing, but nobody knew what they're doing. And we actually were able to set it up, and we actually got it to work. And if you have a background like me, you understand what a P&L means. You understand what a balance sheet. You understand how cost of goods sold works. You have to understand in depth how these numbers work, because before you know it, the numbers are just going to be a mess, and you won't even know
Yeah.
how to fix it.
Is it actually like as hard this NetSuite software? Because I'm not like that familiar with it as like SAP, for example. Like SAP in Europe is like huge and it's super
So
messy.
I'm not really familiar that much with SAP, but as far as I know, I think SAP is like a competitor to NetSuite, like that
Okay.
size. So I would say if it's similar to NetSuite, it's going to be a big mess. It's going to be hard. QuickBooks is a very easy, intuitive software to use, and it's also very advanced. Like,
Yeah.
it does what it needs to do. So I would say like if it, it's if you're using like an inventory management system, then there's probably no reason to use NetSuite. Probably get away with using QuickBooks, unless you're like super huge and you run this huge warehouse and stuff like that.
Oh yeah. And speaking actually of on a QuickBooks now, I wonder, what do you think? What are the most common actually like mistakes that the sellers do just by doing bookkeeping by themselves?
The biggest mistakes, one mistake would be that I see a lot of people is like when they create an FBA shipment. So this is like before, if you're not using any software, and I remember this story I had with a different customer. Um, I was doing the bookkeeping then, and they just then started selling on Amazon, and we also paid their bills and took care of their billing. I knew the business had no money in the bank because we couldn't pay any bills. And then all of a sudden, I'm looking over their P&L, and I see they made $100,000 profit. I'm like, no way, this makes sense. I said, if I don't have a dollar in the bank, how do you make $100,000 profit? So I started to dig and dig and dig, and I found that there was a huge invoice of like $200,000, and it was like and so 200,000, let's say, was the sale amount, and then the profit after what QuickBooks reported was $100,000. So I asked the customer, "What is this invoice?" He's like, "This is a shipment we made to Amazon." I said, "This is the worst thing you can do." I said, "Number one, you don't know yet if these products are going to sell. So you're recording profit. You're making the books look too good when it's not even true." I said, "Number two, you don't even know how much profit you're going to make." I said, "You anticipate that you're going to make $100,000 profit. You don't know. You don't know what your PPC is going to cost you. You don't know what the fees are. Yeah, you anticipate this, you anticipate that. There's so many different fees that you have to account for." Now, the truth is, the inventory is yours until you sell it. Meaning, until Amazon doesn't ship it out, the inventory is yours. So even if you make a shipment from your warehouse to FBA, that doesn't mean that you pull it off your books. And I know a lot of people do because they don't want it in their QuickBooks. It's much easier to just pull it off and just send everything in. But I explained to them, look, it's not in your books. It's still yours, and it needs to stay in your books. Now, if it really bothers you, you could do something called multiple warehouses in QuickBooks, where you can track what's in one location, what's in the other location, and you can see what's going on. But you can't keep it on hand. And that's a common mistake that I talk to a lot of sales. Like I'll ask them, when somebody tells me they do it manually, I'm like, okay, so what does manual mean? So like, what do you mean? Every time I have a shipment, I create an invoice. I'm like, yeah, okay, so you're just screwing up the whole books. And just not even to mention that if you do it that way, you also pay a ton more in taxes because you're going to pay taxes on stuff that never even sold because you're recording profits.
Hmm. Awesome. And again, just going back, so what happened to your like bookkeeping service right now? Do you still do it
Yeah,
with the
we still
usage of
do
the
it. No, we
software?
still do it, but we only do it
Awesome.
for Amazon businesses.
Only for
So
Amazon businesses. So
yeah,
if someone comes to you and wants to actually use your software, you can also offer
yeah.
them additional like
We can
bookkeeper.
they can either take the software and try to do the bookkeeping themselves, meaning the software. So with this in QuickBooks, there's two things, and this is in every accounting software. You have vendors and you have customers. Vendors who you buy from, customers who you sell to. So who you buy from, that you still have to take care of yourself, like entering your bills, entering credit card charges, overhead, payroll, rent. That part you'll still need to do. On the sales side, that's what we automate. So either you can try to still do it yourself, or you can just give us the whole thing. We'll do everything from A to Z.
Mm-hmm. Got it. And now, actually, I wanted to hear some of the biggest success stories from one of your customers who's using ConnectBooks.
Sure. So the biggest success story. I mean, one of my first customers I dealt with, in the first year, they had literally no clue what's going on. Now, I'm going back to this in the whole time. Understanding your business means to say doesn't mean what's happening in the bank. It means having proper books. So they didn't have the proper books, and they had no clue what's going on. They had no clue if they're making money, losing money. And what ended up happening was we ended up setting them up, and they saw that after the first year of doing like 3 million, I think they did like first year, like 3 million sales, they made no money. But the thing is that we were able to show them where they're not making money. We were able to show them where they're losing money. And then they understood that part really well. And the next year they made over $1 million profit. I think by now, last year they made like $4 million profit, not sales. Now I think they made like 40 million, but I think the
Yeah,
profit is like 4 million.
that's awesome. You kind of stole the job for the Amazon agency just by showing the proper bookkeeping, actually.
Yep.
So that's awesome. Now I wanted to ask you also for some advice for the Amazon sellers, especially who are struggling with the e-commerce accounting. Because one additional question I wanted to ask you is like, at which point should the Amazon seller also consider using service like yours? Is there like some minimum volume of sales or just amount of sales, the number, anything?
So our pricing, so we work like this. You need to do the bookkeeping, and then there's the software. I don't recommend for people to do their own bookkeeping. It's just, you're not a
Like
bookkeeper,
never.
Yeah, and I mean, look, you can always find this one guy who's going to be a numbers person and knows everything. And if you have maybe 10 transactions a month, you could try to do it yourself. Maybe your CPA can help you. In general, I don't advise it because you want to make your time you want to make your time valuable, and you want to do the best. Now, if for example, if you spend 10 hours a week on a month on bookkeeping, that 10 hours could have been, put towards growing your business, not
Yeah.
being busy doing your books. So I advise highly getting a bookkeeper. Our minimum pricing on the software, we have two packages. So we have like a small business plan. Like if you really, really new and you're like a very, very small, you can do like for $50 a month. But for the regular pricing starts over between 150 and 200 a month at a minimum. The minimum plans of 150 and 200 give you like a free onboarding call where we walk you through everything and we make sure you understand everything and you know what's going on. So I would say most 98% of our customers take the bigger package, take like the 150 or 199. And then in terms of bookkeeping, people ask me all the time. So I say, look, you want try it yourself for a few weeks. If you see it's taking up too much time or you're finding that you're not enjoying to do it, you would outsource that company, either like mine, or we have a network of different bookkeeping companies, that we work with. And we actually just partnered with a new bookkeeping company, which I think they have like prices from like $200 a month, and then ConnectBooks could be like, I think we're making like a package deal for
Hmm.
$300 a month for like smaller sellers, that they can get a full bookkeeping package plus ConnectBooks for like around $300 a month.
Awesome. I think it's actually much cheaper than we pay for our bookkeepers, but it's different business, right? So,
Well, it
uh,
depends. I mean, 300 is not for everybody. That's just for starting sellers. But I'm saying,
oh yeah,
like, I know other bookkeeping companies won't take customers under $1,000 a month, and other
yeah,
companies won't take under
totally,
3,000 a month. But I'm saying that I'm trying to find different
yeah,
bookkeepers to work with to have solutions for everybody. I mean, on our website we now have like under our resources tab you can find an accountant or bookkeeper. The accountants or bookkeepers we recommend are people who we vetted and we know they're good. Mean to say, we won't just list anybody. In order to list, you have to have worked with e-commerce clients. You have to understand how e-commerce works. You understand how inventory works. You're not just going to go list people, because then, what's the point?
yeah.
But we're working now on a few other, partners, and one of these partners that we got now is really good because they're I vetted them. They know what they're doing. They do the bookkeeping right, and they do it all correct, and they're cheap. So which makes it
Oh
like
yeah.
a no-brainer.
I think we should definitely reach out to you once we start our own Amazon product. Like right now, we are actually, I mean, we are a software company, but we had this one really nice idea of the product that we connect hardware with the software. Right now, we are speaking with manufacturers, and we definitely want to put it out on Amazon. I don't know, maybe by the end of this year, and obviously start selling it on other marketplaces. I mean, definitely US. So now I know the guy, so that sounds
Sure.
great. But yeah, Nachman, just for a few last words, I wanted to ask you if you could basically, yeah, share with our audience where people can find you, how to get on your website, try to use your services.
Sure. I'd say the best way is to just come on our website on connectbooks.com. If you want to have more information, like you want to see a demo, just go to the schedule a demo tab, and you'll put in information, and you'll right away get an email to schedule a demo. And somebody will come on and explain to you the product, and if you have any other questions, we have like a chat box, a live chat on the website, which you can reach out to, and we respond pretty fast, and we'll help you get set up on that end. And we
Awesome.
also have a special coupon for the listeners of this podcast. So we're going to be offering 20% off for the first 3 months, and it's limited for the first 25 signups. So whoever wants to must get in fast. And
Awesome.
the code should be it should be pod 30, pod 30, pod 30. So just put that
All
in.
right. I'll make sure to put it in the description and also on the streaming platforms for this podcast. So thanks a lot for this offer. Definitely the viewers will use it. And yeah, Nachman, that was awesome to have you here. Thanks a lot for a podcast, and we definitely jump on some additional episodes in the future.
Sure.
Thank you.